Today on Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, a lot to get into. Hawks get ready for the Miami Heat coming up in game 2 of their first round playoff series. We'll take a look at that. Plus, you want to know why the Falcons are really struggling? We're going to look back a little bit in time to a recent draft, and was too much coverage last night with Freddie and the Dodgers and his return and blah, blah, blah. It just kind of made me nauseous. All that up next. It's Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
We welcome you into Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, episode 13 on Locked On Sports Atlanta. We are asking you to head over to our YouTube channel. Just look at Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head over there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Excuse me. Give us a review, like us, tell us what you think about the show. And, of course, you can check me out on Twitter at JMCH316. Well, let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. We get ready for Hawks and Heat Game 2 coming up tonight. Now, look. It was literally, I heard a good saying about this, that Sunday was like a scheduled loss for the Atlanta Hawks, right? After playing 2 games to get themselves into the first round of the NBA playoffs and then having to go back on the road, quick turnaround, and you're playing early in the afternoon. Everything set itself up for the fact that the Atlanta Hawks were just not going to find a way to get it done, and they lost 115-91. So what has to change for Atlanta tonight? If the Atlanta Hawks are going to find a way to get a victory, what has to change? So a couple things. We know that Clint Capella is out again for tonight. We know that Lou Williams is out again for tonight. Clint is going to be reevaluated on Friday, and we'll see if, who knows, potentially that when they get back home on Friday, will he be able to play? Supposedly his treatments are going well, and he's kind of ahead of schedule. And I heard from the general manager this morning, listening to him talking about the fact that he's doing well and maybe on the fast track. So we'll get a better reevaluation of him come Friday. But without him, few things that the Hawks are going to have to look at and get done. Number one is they have to get off to a much better start in this game. They only scored 17 points in the first quarter the other day. And, of course, that's going to mean Trae gets off early, Bogey gets off early. There's literally zero chance whatsoever. And I mean zero and maybe even less than zero that Trae Young and Bogdanovic go 1 for 20 and 0 for 11 from three-point land. But they have to get off to a better start. It's not that Miami came out and just dominated them right from the beginning. It was only a 6-point lead after the first quarter. But you got to score more than 17 points on the road. You have to get things going and cranked up. Trae's got to get himself going. The other thing they have to do, you have to hit the shots that are open. And that was one of the big things for me in watching the game the other day, is that as tough as Miami's defense was, and as much as they made it difficult for Trae and everybody to get open, when they did have open looks, they couldn't hit them. They couldn't knock down those shots. They've got to find a way to be able to knock some of those shots down. 3, they have to find a way to give some relief to Trae Young. They have to find a way to be able to not allow Miami to collapse and trap on him, whether that's, you start to set some pick and rolls way out for him and start to get him free, but you're going to have to get more creative. And this is where we find out about Nate McMillan, because, it's been, me personally, I think it's been a mixed bag with Nate McMillan. I think he's done some really good things, and they had a great run last year. But I also think that when I hear about defense and intensity and 1-2 and will and all this kind of stuff, that the guy who can control the minutes really didn't do a great job of getting his team ready at times. And in some of those performances that they had during the regular season, it was just, disastrous for the Atlanta Hawks. So Nate has got to do a better job. He's got to step his game up and find a way to get Trae free, find a way to work him around, set some pick and rolls, get some things going for him up higher to where he can get freed up. I don't expect Miami to shoot the ball the way that they did the other night. Literally, they were 18 for 38 from three-point line. So they're 47% from three-point land. Duncan Robinson himself was 8 for 9 from 3, and they shot over 52% from the floor. I don't expect them to shoot the ball as well. So with that, the Hawks have to find a way to make sure that they rebound the basketball. And obviously, without Clint Capella being there and without his presence in the low post, whether that's John Collins, whether that's Gallinari, whether that's Okongwu, and I'll be curious to see, will John Collins get himself back into the starting lineup tonight? Played 21 minutes, and I do think in watching John Collins, I think if Capella hadn't gotten hurt, that Collins probably wouldn't have been back. I think he was pressed into action. And we said this the other day on the show, that I really think that with Capella being hurt, they kind of forced Collins to get himself back in there and get himself back into playing time. So 21 minutes, maybe he starts tonight, or he plays a big role off the bench, which is probably what I think is going to happen. I think more that he'll come off the bench again and they'll use him and Bogey to really run that second team offense. But they have to be able to rebound the basketball. They only got out rebounded by 2, but you figure that Miami was so lights out shooting the basketball. Let's say that they, instead of 47% from 3, let's say they come back down and they're 33, 35% from three-point land. That's going to create a lot of opportunities to rebound the basketball. You got to make sure that you get your hands on it, and you got to make sure that you get that part of the game taken care of. And obviously that's tougher without Capella, but this is where Okongwu and Gallinari and Collins, they have to be a force in all of that. Do I think tonight is must-win for the Atlanta Hawks? No, I don't think it's a must-win game. Would you like to win? Of course. I mean, you'd have obviously like to split Miami, find a way to get it done and come back here to Atlanta, split 1-1. But I think that the reality is that the Hawks can go up there or go in there. And if they lose tonight, look, you got to hold court. You got to hold the home court serving. It makes game 3 and 4 must win for the Hawks then. But the Hawks have certainly had their backs up against the wall in the playoffs over the last couple of years. And certainly the Hawks have found a way to get it done. So I expect a much better effort out of the Atlanta Hawks tonight. But I think that just are a few things. I mean, there are some of those keys. Getting off to a quick start, making sure that you rebound the basketball, finding a way to get Trae freed up, hitting some of your open shots out there, and just making sure that, you kind of handle and take care of your business early on in the game. And again, I think Trae Young bounces back with a big night. Trae is always going to be in these series by and large. He's going to be the best or the second best player, on the court. And there's no doubt about it in this series that the best player on the court is Trae Young. Now he's got to play and act like it. And I think you saw tired legs, long road trip. You were up in Cleveland. You had to fly down to Miami. You get in late. You only get a day's rest. You have to turn back around and you have to start back up. Well, now the Hawks didn't have to travel. They're playing tonight. They've had a day off. They've had some time to rest and relax. They can shoot around and practice a little bit. Everything kind of sets itself up that I think the Hawks can find a way to get it done tonight. But again, worst case scenario, you lose tonight into Miami. Now you have to come home and you have to make sure that you win on Friday and Sunday. I mean, you have to make sure that you win your next 2 home games for sure. You can't really afford to be down 3-1 heading back to Miami for any kind of series. So they've got to get it done at home. But certainly tonight is one of those things that you can find a way to steal a game in Miami. You got to be able to find a way to do it. And I think if you can get off to a quick early start, we know their crowd is sort of fashionably late, right? We know that they are one of those teams that it takes a while for the building to get in, get full. And once they get it going, they, have a pretty good crowd and a pretty good atmosphere out there. But catch them off guard early and see if you can find a way to get a win. So Hawks and Heat tonight coming up at 7:30. And we'll see if the Hawks can get back on track after what was just a disastrous start to the series, but not really a surprise as it was almost sort of a scheduled loss out of all of it. All right, when we come back, we are going to talk about an interesting stat that I saw about the 2017 draft, and I'm going to make you understand why the Falcons are in the position that they're in. It's all next on Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.